How life came to existence here on Earth is wonderful. How life managed to evolve and cope with the environment. Into the mountains and under the sea, life is very evident. Not only did organisms survive in different places, they thrive. As we dive under the sea, we witness a great diversity of organisms. From fishes, to corals, to seaweeds and such. The beauty that the ocean held from us is slowly unfolded before our eyes. One organism is off to be distinguished from the others. They're soft, velvety in texture and swims elegantly underwater. They are flatworms. Flatworms are known in scientific literature as platyhelminths. From the Greek platy, meaning flat, and helminth, meaning worm. They have bilateral symmetry. They are also characterized for their soft, unsegmented bodies. Their bodies have no body cavities, unlike most organisms with bilateral symmetry. One thing worth noting is that they have 3 main cell layers, while the radially symmetrical organisms have only 2. The space between the gut and skin is filled with mesenchyme, a connective tissue made of cells and reinforced by collagen fibers that act as a type of skeleton, providing attachment points for muscles. The mesenchyme contains all the internal organs and allows the passage of oxygen, nutrients and waste products. Their bodies are restricted to being flat, since they have no specialized circulatory and respiratory organs. Their flat bodies allow oxygen and nutrients to pass through their bodies by diffusion. Flatworms evolved in the Paleogene period, approximately 40 million years ago. Since the flatworm lacks a body cavity, they were regarded as an early stage in the evolution of bilaterians. The lack of circulatory and respiratory organs forces flatworms to the shape and size that enable oxygen to reach and carbon dioxide to leave their bodies by diffusion. This is the reason why most flatworms are microscopic and the bigger ones are flat. Respiration via diffusion makes it vulnerable for flatworms to fluid loss. Ergo, they thrive in environments where dehydration is unlikely. The sea, for example. Moist land, and inside other animals. Most free-living flatworms are predators. They eat small prey by sweeping them to their mouths with their cilia. The gut is lined with a single layer of endodermal cells which absorb and digest food. Some species break up and soften food first by secreting enzymes in the gut or pharynx. Flatworms have no rear end in their digestive system. They instead get rid of undigested material through the mouth. Movement of the organism is by means of 2 layers of muscles in its body wall and by thousands of cilia which cover its underside. The organism's movement is controlled by this simple nervous system. The flatworm will move away from bright light. It has eye spots that allow that to tell light from dark and the direction the light is coming from. Some are capable of burrowing, anchoring their rear ends at the bottom of the burrow and then stretching the head up to feed and then pulling it back down for safety. Some terrestrial species throw a thread of mucus which they use as a rope to climb from one leaf to another. Flatworms are separated into 4 groups: Turbellaria, Trematoda, Monogenia and Cestoda. Turbellaria is one of the traditional subdivisions of the flatworm phylum and include all the subgroups that are not exclusively parasitic. There are about 4,500 species. Again, larger species are flat and leaf-like because of the lack of respiratory and circulatory organs. However, many of the smaller forms are round in cross-section. Most are predators and all live in water or in moist terrestrial environments. Most forms reproduce sexually and with few exceptions all are simultaneous hermaphrodites. Trematoda is a class within the flatworm phylum that contains 2 groups of parasitic flatworms commonly referred to as flukes. The flukes are estimated to include 18,000 to 24,000 species and are divided into 2 subclasses. Nearly all flukes are parasites of mollusks and vertebrates. Flukes are flat and oval or worm-like animals, usually no more than a few centimeters in length, although species as small as 1 millimeter and as large as 7 centimeters are known. Their most distinctive external feature is the presence of 2 suckers, one close to the mouth, and the other on the underside of the animal. Monogenia are very small parasitic flatworms mainly found on skin or gills of fish. They are rarely longer than about 2 centimeters. A few species infecting certain marine fish are larger and marine forms are generally larger than those found on freshwater hosts. Monogenines have weakly developed oral suckers or none at all. Monogenia attach to hosts using hooks, clamps and a variety of other specialized structures. They are often capable of dramatically elongating and shortening as they move. Cestoda is another group under the flatworm phylum known as tapeworms. Its members live in the digestive tract of vertebrates as adults, and often in the bodies of various animals as juveniles. Over 1,000 species have been described, and all vertebrate species can be infected by at least one species of tapeworm. Several species infect humans after being consumed in underprepared meats such as pork, beef, and fish, or in food prepared in conditions of poor hygiene. The largest species, the whale tapeworm, can grow to over 30 meters. One interesting thing about flatworms are their reproduction. Since they are born with both male and female reproductive systems, they mate with any other flatworm, provided that they are of the same species. Flatworms can produce eggs within its body and also fertilize them with sperm. A method of reproduction involves physical contact between 2 individuals, where the sperm of one is absorbed into the skin of another. With some species, this occurs through fencing, where they use their male reproductive organ to compete in trying to pierce the skin of a potential mother. Very fancy, indeed. Fertilized eggs are encased in a cocoon within a flatworm's body. The cocoon is released into environments such as water weeds. The cocoon nourishes the eggs, which develop and later hatch. Flatworms can also reproduce asexually, where they undergo budding. A new worm grows from the body of a flatworm and separates to become a new one. Another process called fragmentation occurs when a worm splits into two separate individuals. Flatworms also have interactions between humans. Tapeworms and flukes cause diseases in humans and their livestock. Schistosomiasis, or snail fever, is the second most devastating parasitic disease in tropical countries, behind malaria. Over 200 million people are affected. The threat of diseases caused by flatworms is emphasized by inadequate sanitation and various agricultural practices, such as the use of sewage sludge or human feces as fertilizer. However, many species of flatworms is used to moderate the population of invasive species, especially in island countries like the Philippines, Indonesia and New Guinea. So here they are, flatworms. Small, soft-bodied creatures that glide freely in the water. With simple bodies, both parasite and not. They swim elegantly while breathing through their skin. Their body may be simple in structure, but they live complex lives. Well, amongst other organisms at least. It's amazing how such simple organisms could have very complex interactions between themselves and the environment. These organisms learn to survive and cope with the changes in the surroundings. We must remember that we live in a system. The interactions that occur between us and the surroundings plays a huge part in the well-being of the world.